So what I would like to share with you is that before we went into the process of implementation, very briefly I will tell you that what actually happens in a modular workstation order, because it is important to know if we want to appreciate that what kind of solution got implemented. See, in modular furniture, what is happening is that the client will finalize the requirement at the branch with the salespeople. Then the architects make a docket of all the requirement. They send that docket to head office. An audit is done of that docket. Bill of material is prepared for the docket. After the bill of material is prepared, then it comes into planning, then purchasing of the material, manufacturing and dispatching. So this is the cycle with which we work. Now here what is happening, that looking at the type of problems, when the team started doing the study, we tried to categorize them into a project environment and an operations environment. And what we realized was that in the initial part, bad multitasking was a predominant activity. So that's where we felt that we can link it to a project scenario. And in the chain, which was an operation scenario, there were other typical issues of an operation scenario, like the desynchronization, queuing and many other issues which are there in terms of the operational scenario. Now in the branch, I mean, not really to take you through too many details, but what was the basic problem was that there was a delay in sign-offs. See, what happens in the modular industry is that customer places the order, very happy that he has done his job, purchase department. After that, the architect is supposed to finalize the layout and the color scheme. Now, architect will have some different priorities at that point in time. Okay, customer will believe he has done his job. Architect will say, okay, I will take my own sweet time. The vendor really comes in trouble on this count because customer's clock has started ticking, but our clock has not started ticking. So delay in sign-offs was a big challenge which we were facing. And the second issue was that our resources were actually doing bad multitasking, in the sense that our team of architects, for some time they will work on a docket, then the salesperson will go to them, they will again start working on an inquiry, leave the docket behind. So, maybe some probability of errors, and these were kind of the issues which were getting faced upstream. In the shop floor, the plant scenario was such that it was a combination of a plant and a V plant. So basically we had a divergence in the beginning, and different components, like they were originating from a coil, then from the same type of coils, basically different components get made. So there is a frame, there are raceway fascias on which the cutouts are put. Okay, these kind of components are there. There are tiles which are there along with the workstation. So all these components get made. Then again what happens, that at the paint shop they start coming together, and finally at the packing there is a convergence, because we are, at least the partitions, we are trying to pack them together. Okay, then the other components, they go separately. So this was the type of situation which was existing in the plant, and the multiple components, as I mentioned, which were a combination of project components and standard components, were actually throwing up a lot of challenges for us. So naturally the issues which we used to face was basically that there was a combination of divergence and convergence, and how to have a smooth synchronization of these issues. So what we actually decided was that for the first category, as I mentioned, that it was actually like a project scenario, and the later category was an operation scenario. So the team felt, after doing this exercise, that we will apply a combination of solutions. Okay, so what we believe has been different in our implementation has been that it has been a combination of solutions. So we applied the DBR solution basically in the manufacturing scenario, and we applied part of CCPM, which is linked to bad multitasking, in the upstream areas. So this was the combination solution which we decided to implement. Now, after having decided, then there was a steering committee, a buy-in of the top management was taken, because a lot of changes were going to happen in the way we were earlier working and the way we were supposed to work in the future. So basically, at a senior level, all the buy-ins were taken, the strategy and tactic tree was formulated, time frames were set, and we decided that yes, let's now go ahead with this project. So this is how the project was structured. Okay, in a typical TOC way, the entire buffer was kept in the end, which was the last 2 months. Okay, we did end up consuming a lot of it, but finally it was a buffer which was available for consumption finally. Then we said, okay, the rest of the period we will ambitiously divide into 2 months by starting the first, into manufacturing. So we felt that let's first streamline our manufacturing operations, because that's where the major problem is, and then let us go to the sales and marketing people and also get them to streamline after giving them the confidence that we have improved. So this is the way the structure was drawn. Now what I will do is that the critical areas which we did into this structure is what I will take you through in more detail for getting a better feel of what we actually did into implementation. But otherwise, in manufacturing, as you can see, basically it was related to choking the release, then getting into buffer management, getting into streamlining of the raw material supplies. And one point which I would certainly like to mention is that the raw material got divided into 2 categories. So what we did was that, we created a dynamic buffer replenishment system for the standard components. So where we use the traditional, I think most of you are aware that what we call as red, yellow and green. And for the project components, what we did was that item for each project basically was captured separately, and then there was a separate tracking system with a software developed to track that all the project items, whether they are coming with a due date or not. So essentially, as I mentioned, that first the manufacturing part got implemented, then the bad multitasking areas are where the marketing team and the design